Hey Shakers, and welcome to Worth Your Salt, the podcast that shakes up your marketing game in the health and wellness industry. Worth Your Salt is brought to you by Salt Marketing. Salt Marketing helps health and wellness practitioners build trust and authority to attract a steady stream of inbound wellness seekers. For more information, you can visit us online at saltmarketing.co. I'm Jennifer Oraquah, StoryBrand Certified Guide, Marketing Strategist with Salt Marketing, and your host for today's episode of Worth Your Salt. Navigating the intricacies of SEO can feel like stumbling in the dark for a lot of wellness practitioners. From understanding the algorithm to knowing what keywords you're ranking for, building out content pillars, watching your metrics, we often pour resources into SEO, hoping for visibility and growth, yet frequently find ourselves uncertain if any of that energy is going to move the needle. I've even heard wellness practitioners suggest that organic SEO is a relic of the past, rendered ineffective by the ever-evolving landscape of online search. But what if there's more to the story? What if organic SEO isn't dead, but simply misunderstood? Today, I'm talking with Greg Brooks, an author and thought leader who is helping shape the future of SEO. Working with industry giants like Home Depot, Zillow, Western Union, and even FanDuel, Greg and the team at SearchTides, where he's a partner, have been responsible for some of the most successful SEO campaigns in recent history. Greg is here to talk about what's ahead in SEO and how you can generate revenue by understanding how wellness businesses can thrive in the AI era of search. Greg, I really appreciate you joining me today on Worth Your Salt.
Hey, thanks, Jennifer. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and sprinkle some salt on the conversation.
Very nice. So we usually start with a little bit of a backstory here on Worth Your Salt. So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your journey in the world of digital marketing and SEO.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually, in another lifetime, well, I guess it's technically this lifetime, I used to be a professional poker player. And I did that in my young 20s and got to the point where I thought, hey, this is not something that is a sustainable way to live for the rest of my life, having wild financial swings every single day. Maybe not the most grounding profession that exists. So yeah, I went into business with my brother. We had kind of a couple ideas that we pushed out. Like a lot of other people didn't really see a lot of success in that. But what I did realize I was good at was full service marketing. So understanding kind of the full stack behind things and how everything fit together. But having a marketing agency that does full stack is very reactive work, I found. So it's very much your clients have, hey, I have this need, I have this need. And your response is, yeah, absolutely. That's something that I can do for you. And it may or may not be something that you actually have expertise in. So I oriented myself towards SEO because at the time that was something that did feel very magical. It was kind of like, oh, no one knows how this is actually possible to do, but everybody wants it. And I thought, that'd be fun to be able to do a little magician and playing a little bit of a game similar to poker. So wound up at SearchTides and essentially building out really high level SEO campaigns for clients, taking us to where SearchTides has evolved to today, which is a hub for all things SEO, search, getting into the world of AI, and essentially just kind of the future of how humans seek information, which is just how we think about search and SEO and all of those things.
So tell me a little bit, just at a really basic level, what you help companies accomplish and what you do.
I think what we help companies most with right now are how they can be successful in generating visibility online. And so for many companies, that starts and ends at Google. I think there's a lot of conversations in the space right now about AI and ChatGPT and Perplexity AI and all of those things are great. The data is the data. There's still 95%, 97%, whatever it is, of searches that were on Google still are on Google and will continue to be the case for a very long time. So that's where it starts and ends for most companies. I think there's a little bit of interest from companies starting to creep up around, hey, we'd love to be an answer for ChatGPT. We'd love to be a citation source for another program such as Perplexity. And I do see a variety of years in the future, things shifting as well to what I think the future will be, which is people are generating knowledge and information from many different sources. It won't just be one website. But the honest truth, Jennifer, is that it is one website and it's going to continue being one website for a very long time, longer than people can comprehend.
Interesting. So, our audience is largely wellness practitioners who might or might not be familiar with the need to focus on search engine optimization. Why should they pay attention to SEO? What might they miss out on if they don't?
I think the number one thing that people are looking for when they want to interact with a business online is, does this make sense for me? Is this right for me? And I think there's a couple different categories that you can answer that question in. So the first category is location for something like a wellness practitioner. I'm in New York. I don't want to wellness practitioner from California if I need to go in person for something. And then maybe the same is true Brooklyn versus Manhattan. Maybe the same is true Tribeca versus Soho, and so on and so forth. So I think location is really important. And that's one lens that we have very traditionally used. The second lens is actually a little bit more recent, and that's what our perception of the knowledge is. So does this website, does this company talk about things in a way that I'm interested in? Do they seem to hold the same values as I do? And then you, of course, have the third piece of that, which is just, what do other people think about them? And what do other people say about them? And what's that third party validation look like? And all of those things exist today on Google, and all of those things are achievable via SEO and content creation and different ways to signal I am the right location, I am the right values-driven business, and I do have those third-party validations.
So with so many marketing channels available to us, is organic search still a viable option for wellness businesses when we're looking to get found online?
That's a really great question, because the answer is not automatically yes. Most wellness practitioners and businesses are location-driven. And so that is still the number one way where people are looking in a specific location is they're just going to fire off a search on their phone, and they're going to go ahead and get a few different results, and they're going to pick something that is at least minimally close to them. So optimizing for search engines in this case is going to be a lot of optimizing for Google My Business, optimizing and making sure that your address is valid all across the internet and it's exact and precise every single time. And it's going to be making sure that you're affiliated with the other local entities or companies that are in your space. So if you're a wellness practitioner, maybe you're able to generate a link from other not competing wellness practitioners, but others in healthcare in your local area, or things like the BBB, or things like a local chamber of commerce, really cementing that you're part of this community because it is geographically based. I think those things are really important and easy to do. Similarly, driving reviews is really, really important and easy to do. And those are things that I think always make sense for any business to do. And that's why the line kind of gets blurred between what's SEO and what's good business practice. For this industry specifically, my belief is that what's good business practice is good SEO, and to not do it the other way around, not to say like, oh, according to this research that I did in SEO, I should put all this area into this area because it's good for SEO. I'd zoom out and say, hey, what are beneficial for core fundamental business purposes, things that you can do, and then do those because they're good. And they also have SEO benefits as well.
That makes sense. And I'm really kind of wondering how online search fits into the overall marketing strategy. And before we came on, you and I were talking a little bit about the customer journey. So how do we fit SEO into a business where we're trying to grow and scale, and we're really trying to reach more people?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so for this answer, I'm going to expand the definition of SEO, and I'm going to include, or at least clarify inside of it, it's going to be things like content creation, and it's going to be things like optimizing a Google My Business profile, and it's going to be things like generating reviews for your practice. Oh, surprise, surprise, you should try to get clicked on for Google My Business more frequently. Surprise, surprise, you should try to get business reviews. Yeah, that's really why we're here to talk about things that nobody's ever heard about.
Right.
So, but I do want to talk about content creation. The last two algorithm updates, and the way that Google and search works is there's typically 2 or so major algorithm updates that happen every year. And on top of that, there's all of these kind of little murmurs that happen all throughout the year. We don't have to get into any of the technicals. I can just tell you broad strokes what's going on. More and more and more, there is a trend. There's so much of a trend in Google to reward what's called helpfulness, which is what we would deem generating actual value for someone who's interacting with your webpage, that whoever is creating the most valuable content wins. And whoever can do that consistently over time wins. And whoever can bring their own personal experience and expertise wins. And I can define all those things in a moment. But I think the way that you do that is you say, you move away from, I want to create this piece of content because I'm trying to target this keyword, and you move towards, there are 5 things that if someone understands them before working with me, they're on the same page as me or as us. And also they are in the headspace that they need to be open to the services that I'm providing. How do I create pieces of content that help answer those sorts of questions for people? And in marketing term, we would call that, how do we help meet people along their customer journey, where they are in their purchasing cycle or their buying cycle? And I'm a big proponent of using fundamental principles from SEO around helpfulness to dictate how you write content, which is then combined with what content you write about, which is dictated by understanding your customer profiles and your ideal customer profiles.
Perfect. All right, Greg, I know we're all feeling re-energized around creating helpful and valuable content at this point. I'm going to take a quick sponsorship break right now. When we come back, let's explore how wellness businesses can leverage these strategies and AI for quick SEO wins. Hey there, Salt Nation. If you're ready to scale your practice and make a real impact, I want to make sure you know about a game changer, Keep, K-E-A-P, the business automation software we use and recommend at Salt Marketing. Imagine this. Before Keep, you're spending countless hours and dollars to generate leads, send follow-up emails, guessing about what your employees, your prospects, your customers might want from you. It's overwhelming. Now, picture your life with Keep. You have a streamlined, automated system that handles all of these tasks for you. Your employees are onboarded consistently, your clients receive timely reminders, personalized emails, and seamless service. You get to focus on what you do best, helping your clients achieve their wellness goals. Keep is HIPAA compliant. That means you can trust it with sensitive client information, ensuring their privacy and security. And with customer lifecycle automation, you can capture leads directly from your website and follow up with them automatically to turn them into raving fans. If you're ready to transform your practice, head over to saltmarketing.co/keep for a free trial. When you partner with Salt Marketing, you'll save on Keep and enjoy perks like additional contacts and, of course, our expertise on getting it launched and making money for you right away. Don't wait. Take the leap and automate your business today with Keep. Head to saltmarketing.co/keep for your free trial. Your future self will thank you. I'm back here on the Worth Your Salt podcast with Greg Brooks, author and prominent figure in the digital marketing landscape. And we're talking about SEO practices that help wellness businesses get found. So for a wellness business that's looking for kind of a quick win with SEO, what are some strategies they can implement and see results?
I think the most important thing that a local business can do, that they can kind of do today, is to optimize their Google My Business profiles and drive reviews to Google My Business. If there was going to be one thing that would make it easier to be found by more people, that's what it would be, because everybody comes in through reviews, and Google is always going to be providing a location specific search results when someone is looking for a local service, such as a wellness practice. So that's probably number one. Now, Jennifer, that is a dramatically different answer than if we were dealing with national search results where geography doesn't matter. I can get into that, but I'm kind of thinking that it might be more relevant to stick to what we're talking about here.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm even wondering how the integration of AI has impacted this in terms of not just local search, but just getting found in terms of the rapid adoption of AI tools. Now, the tools themselves are still in their infancy, but people are really hungry for this. So is there anything that we can do for local search to get found?
I'd flip the script on its head and I would say, how can I use AI tools to make doing my job easier? And that is a dramatically different question than how can I use AI tools to do my job for me? Mm-hmm. They're not yet far enough along where you can just, hey, I want to do this, create it for me. But they are very far enough along where you can take a piece of content that you're thinking about creating and you can run it through ChatGPT and you can say, can you remove the fluff? Mm-hmm. You can take a video that you made. You can have a thought. You can write it down. You can use, the dictation on your phone, which got really good over the last 6 months. Write down some thoughts, throw those into ChatGPT and say, hey, can you make 3 social media posts ideas from this? Here's what the business looks like. Here's what we do. Here's our website. Please go and scan it and look at it. Hey, come up with 10 ideas on the things that someone might need to understand to be a good client for this type of a business. Then you get 10 ideas. You like 7 of them. You say, hey, I don't like idea 4, 6, and 7 because X, Y, Z. I do really like ideas 1 and 2 and 8. because of ABC. Can you give me more ideas like 1, 2, and 8? And so what I'm doing here is I'm kind of working collaboratively with this tool to refine what it is that I want to do, but I'm still using my own knowledge and expertise to dictate, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea. And it's a collaboration as opposed to a Hail Mary, hey, go and create a piece of content or, from scratch. So that's how we typically use these tools and where we see the best value from them currently.
Yeah, definitely. And learning how to interact with it and how to give those prompts and iterate in that way that you were just describing. I think that's a big part of really making it work for you. We do have some listeners who are more advanced. So what advice would you give to business owners or practitioners who really want to capitalize on current trends and advancements in how AI is affecting SEO?
I think for those who are more advanced, I would say that they're further along in their content creation, I'd say to take the top 5 or 7 performing pieces of content for given keywords, run them through a ChatGPT, instruct it to provide you with a list of all the subtopics that are being written about. And now all of a sudden you kind of have the full blueprint of what it is that you can talk about for a given topic. And then layer in your expertise and your experience. So I'll give you a quick example. If I go to a pharmacist, I get a prescription for something, I go to get it filled. I go to the pharmacist, I say, hey, can you fill this? And the pharmacist says, yes, I can. But there's a generic version that's available for 10% of the price. You should just use that. Does the same thing. That's the pharmacist using their expertise to tell me there's a better option than what I think there is. If I go back to the pharmacy, I say, hey, can you fill this prescription? They say, yeah, totally, I can. But every time that somebody tries to do that I fill them on this, it doesn't work. They come back, I give them this other thing, it works perfectly. You should just use this other thing now. That's the pharmacist using their experience. So if you can incorporate those into your framework for how you talk to your customers or clients or prospective customers and clients, all of a sudden the script gets flipped. You're no longer thinking of being in the headspace of regurgitating information. And you're saying, hey, what can I actually bring to the table that's unique and different than everybody else? That's my philosophies. And what's the side effect of doing that? The side effect is now you're speaking from the heart. You're speaking authentically about you, and you will get other people who don't believe what you're saying. And then you'll get people who very much believe what you're saying. And that's ultimately how you stand out, especially in these industries where there's kind of consensus over what is working, what is healthy, what's not, what best practices are, what academia says should happen, what scientific studies say should happen. You are basically like, here's my experience and my expertise. And if this resonates with you, that's going to be a big differentiator and how people interact with your brand and with you as a person.
And I love that idea of sharing your experience. It goes back to what you were saying earlier about, do these values align with where I am in my journey and does it make sense for me? So I also love what you're saying about, building out that pillar content, finding out, those offshoots and those other things that people are looking for so that you can build more original content, lean into that helpful, useful content. So how can SEO really help wellness businesses not just attract new customers, but also grow and scale in the long term? Even though content is a long play, what can we do to optimize for the long term?
The best way to understand SEO is that it's winner take all for the most part. And so how do you become the best resource in your location on your subject? That's kind of the big headline that you're solving for. And that doesn't happen immediately and that doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen from following the very specific things that we've talked about so far. And also, by the way, doing that link building that I mentioned, very, very important. Figuring out ways to get other similar practices in different locations so that you can have relevancy, figuring out how to get other local, geographically relevant places linking to you so that you have geographical relevance. Those are really, really important. But I think the best use of SEO as we look into tomorrow and we look into the long term is understanding these sorts of things exist today, sure, but also they represent things that are unrelated to SEO. Understanding the customer journey, speaking from your experience and your expertise. Yeah, there's an SEO term called EEAT, which is called experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. But also, that's called being authentic. And also that's called a unique selling, proposition, a USP. And also that's a technique to be polarizing in an area where you have basically a commoditization of thought or strategy. So all of those things, they intertwine with SEO or they don't. The reality is those are the fundamentals that you should approach your business with. And then you should basically exude that across marketing channels. So don't just have Google search be the only place where you're putting in this effort to. If you're making this content, how easy is it to then turn around and put this on Instagram or to put this on YouTube or something like that? Ultimately, understanding that if you can flip time so that a lot of people just think the clock's running out, time is not on my side. If we are able to flip time such that time is now on our side, then we win. We literally win because then we say it is simply a matter of time before I get what I'm looking for. And so if you think about what that is in the marketing world, it is basically passive audience development where over an extended period of time, someone learns more and more about you, your brand, and you are able to provide more and more value to them passively. And then over time, they grow to trust you. So you can use something like search to really hone in on if someone comes in at the bottom of the funnel, hey, I have this thing, I have this problem, I need it fixed today. Yeah, you can meet them right there through Google My Business and things like that. Also, though, if you kind of look at your website as the first interaction that someone has with your brand, how would they develop? They'd be following you on social media. You'd be posting good content on there. You'd have an email newsletter that had a good amount of frequency. And over time, someone would become more and more familiar with your philosophies and how you think about things, the people you've helped in the past, and you'd be able to provide value to them through those channels. So it's not so much just about promotion, it's about value. And that's why in SEO, we talk about writing with expertise and experience to be able to provide value. We talk about removing fluff in our content to provide value. Internally at SearchTides, we have a metric called value per word. For a given piece of content, what is the value per word? And obviously, the lower the value per word, the more fluff's in the article, the less value you're deriving, the more information for information's sake you're providing. And we don't want any of that. We really don't. And then on video, you have value per second. For every second of video, how much value are you providing? And I think if you start to think in that mindset, and then you start to combine it with who are my customers and where are they in the customer journey of this all, I think where you wind up is in a pretty healthy place where you're like, hey, I'm putting out this content on my website, on social media channels, in my newsletter. I'm using search as an acquisition channel for bottom of the funnel traffic. I'm also using search as a top of the funnel. When someone hits my website, that doesn't need to be the end of the journey for them. It can be the beginning of the journey for them. And I know that over time I'm going to win because I'm going to be putting out that quality content over and over again. And I know that most people don't want to buy the first time that they interact with a brand. And I'll flip time to being on my side.
Brilliant. Greg, I hope everybody was listening so carefully to that, taking notes. I hope you turn around and play this back, everybody who's listening, because that is brilliant advice. All right, Greg, it's time for another quick break. We'll be right back after this. Hey, Salt Nation, you're listening to the Worth Your Salt podcast. I'm Jennifer Oraqua, and today I'm talking with Greg Brooks about how wellness businesses can succeed with organic SEO. We'd love to hear your thoughts on both organic SEO and mastering the algorithms to knock it out of the park. So be sure to join Salt Marketing over on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and let us know what strategies have helped you get found. So, Greg, your passion for SEO is clear. I can just hear it in your voice. Let's talk about what SearchTides shares and how that benefit us.
Thanks for that, by the way. Yeah, I like talking about this stuff because at the summit of it all is humanity. And we could get really Western and call it consumer behavior, but I'd rather call it like how humans think and how we work and what are our core needs that we have in the world. And then how can we meet those needs as business operators or as companies or organizations. And if we hang out kind of at that zoomed out lens, I think that there's a really valuable perspective that we can get there. And then, yes, we zoom into the tactics, but I think the big challenge that a lot of business owners have or managers or leadership at companies have is, how do you do both of those things? And I think the first way that you do them is to become conscious of the fact that those two mindsets exist number one, there's an appropriate place for both of them. It's also not at the exact same moment. Which hat do you need to wear today? Mm-hmm. Which do you need to understand more here, now? What's more valuable tomorrow? And just being comfortable ebbing and flowing between those two things. So I think that's kind of number one, where a lot of the passion comes from. In terms of SearchTides specifically, you had a really nice introduction at the beginning of the call, Jennifer, that we've put together as a company, some of the most successful SEO campaigns that have probably ever existed. And we had existed as a conventional agency for a long period of time, maybe a decade. And we've done some really, really gnarly stuff with search, where we've been part of groups that have crawled tens of millions of search result pages, and we've cataloged unthinkable amount of websites into 5,000 and 50,000 different characteristics and traits. And we've actually deconstructed the Google algorithm. We've not gotten into any of that technical data on this in this podcast because it's not necessarily relevant. But what we do know as a company is we've learned all of these things that have existed behind closed doors and have traditionally just been for us or our agency clients. And we kind of recently decided that's not fun. And what's more fun is kind of sharing these insights with the world and sharing our trends and our understandings of how things work, especially as we enter this era of AI, which I think is bringing a lot of people unease. And I totally understand how that could happen. And I also think that there's an opportunity just to provide education and ease for people. And then also to dive in and talk about the tactics on how things work and how business is changing. And so SearchTides, we do all of the things that I just talked about. You can find us on social media at LinkedIn SearchTides, on YouTube SearchTides. I post from my LinkedIn profile. You can go to our website and you can sign up for our newsletter. You can stay in touch through all those different mechanisms too, and kind of just come along for the ride that we have as we enter into our new phase, which is really just understanding what the evolution of how people seek knowledge on the internet is shifting. And being there to meet people and to meet folks there. That's what we get excited about. And that's what we talk about.
Well, and what's really interesting to me is one thing I find fascinating is, getting found is one thing, but the AI and the results, and you're saying the way that people search, it's changing. The results are right there on the Google page. You don't even have to go to someone's website. So how does that affect how we as, practitioners or wanting to be able to get somebody over to our website, what do we need to do differently?
Yes, this is one of my favorite topics because I get to slam dunk on a part of capitalism that I think is garbage.
Okay, let's do it.
And what it is this private equity or venture capital mindset of quantifying everything and trying to divide things into marketing channels that sort of have certain ROI here and certain ROI there, and ignoring the interconnectedness of everything and ignoring the evolutions in consumer behavior, which is away from immediately purchasing and is moving more towards passive learning and interacting with a business, receiving value. And then when the scales have tipped so much and someone has received so much value, they say, oh my goodness, there's no way that I don't want to work with this company or work with this person. And so how do you quantify that, Jennifer?
Yeah. And that attribution is always what companies are hungry for. But there's really just no single source attribution these days anymore. And I'm here for that.
Yeah.
So any predictions or forecasts regarding the intersection of where health and wellness practitioners and SEO can really capitalize and serve their clients in the best way possible?
The winners of tomorrow understand the fact that they will be basically guiding people through a customer journey that is value driven across many marketing channels. Their website will be one of them. LLMs that they've never seen before will be another one of them. Email will be one of them. Social will be one of them. Content on their website will be one of them. Search will be one of them. Search will probably be a giant one and continue to be. But at the end of the day, we are still people, we're still humans, and we still have these fundamental needs that are underneath what our expressed needs are. And the winners will simply do the best job and be the most consistent and not worry about how long something takes to provide that level of ease to others.
I love that. So at SearchTides, where can we go to find more information? Where can we go to learn more and stay updated on what's going on in the industry?
Yeah, thanks for asking. You can follow us on social media. We're at SearchTides on LinkedIn. We're at SearchTides on YouTube. I also post from my own LinkedIn. You can sign up for our newsletter at searchtides.com. If there's specific SEO work that you want done in a conventional agency relationship, you have the opportunity to reach out to us and we can talk about that too.
Very nice. Of course, links to Greg's LinkedIn profile and to SearchTides, as well as all the ways that you can connect with him, will be available on our website at saltmarketing.co. But right now, it is time for our lightning round questions. These are a few quick questions that I like to ask of every guest. Greg, are you ready?
I'm ready, and I'm also unprepared on purpose, so fire away.
Excellent. Here we go. All right. First question is, what's something about you that often surprises people?
My inner hippie.
All right, you're going to have to elaborate. That's not a lightning question.
I think that most people, they see me in a business sense and they see me in a logic-based sense. But I think where I really shine is I'm fascinated by the universe and how everything works together and who are we as humans.
Very nice. All right. Next question. What's your favorite thing about the work that you do?
I've been blessed to create a culture where people are growing at it. And at SearchTides, I've seen so many people develop on a personal level, yes, on a professional level also, but really come into an environment where it can be all of the things that they hope it is for work. Mm-hmm. And seeing people's eyes light up when they realize that's what's happening, that's something I just get super excited about.
That's wonderful. All right. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
And now being unprepared is biting me in the butt. I think if you can increase your market size, that's a real good pathway to growth. And that is sometimes changing a lot of what you do. And if you can do that and not move away from your level of expertise that you have, that's a very powerful trajectory changing step that you can take.
That is good advice. All right. Last question. Who's inspiring you right now? What podcast are you listening to, or what's the best book that you've read recently?
I'm reading this book by Rick Rubin. Now I'm just going, now so much for question one about whether or not I'm a closeted hippie or not. The biggest blessing that can exist is you just wake up and have fun in your day. And you're still doing the exact same things that you were doing yesterday, but you're coming at a place out of curiosity and enjoyment.
I appreciate the fact that you have unpacked your inner hippie with us today. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of Worth Your Salt, Greg.
Thanks for having me.
I also want to thank you, Salt Nation. If you have a great success story, I'd love to talk with you and share your story with our audience. So tell us about why you're worth your salt by emailing us at grow@saltmarketing.co. Of course, be sure to subscribe to Worth Your Salt so you never miss an episode. Finally, leave us a review or give the show a handful of stars wherever you get your content. That's all for this episode of Worth Your Salt. Be sure to join me again next time. In the meantime, let's get out there and shake things up.